we've solved, which is exciting. So excuse me 1 second and I will reappear in proper game show mode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Never Explained, the science comedy game show, panel show game show that goes where no other panel show game show would go, by which I mean it swears a lot and people say what they actually mean rather than being like, well, actually, I think it's very funny that there's an element that owes a guy called Dean some money. It's called iodine. That's every science comedy panel show I've been to at a science festival, other than the ones I run. My name is Steve Cross. I am your host for this wonderful show. I'll take you through the rules, and then I'm going to introduce you to our wonderful players tonight. Here are the things you need to know. The way this show works is I will ask all of our wonderful players questions. Our players are in 2 teams. When they answer the questions, and every time they say something that makes me laugh or would make me laugh if I hadn't spent the last half hour cleaning up a load of piss that my son did directly onto the landing floor. He was in the bathroom, which has a white clean floor, walked out of it, pissed on the carpet, walked back into the bathroom. So I can't really laugh, but if I would have done, you'll hear this noise. And that means that they have scored a point. And collecting up all of those points all the way from Wales. Yes, it's a truly international Never Explained to you tonight. We've got people with a variety of passports broadcasting from multiple countries, 2 countries, 3 countries, actually. I forgot Jessamyn is in Ireland. We're coming to us all the way from Wales. It's the absolutely incredible Jones the maths. Jones, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. I was going to do this outside in front of the sheep to prove that I was in Wales, but I can't because it's been raining all day.
Aren't you scared of sheep?
Well, I was as a kid. I'm okay now.
Why were you scared of them as a kid?
Because I thought they were calling me because they make the sound "seh."
Sorry for probing you on that one. I knew you had a good joke on it, and I thought it would entertain everybody who's listening. What's the most? So while you've been in Wales, what's the most Welsh thing that you've done?
I mean, we do have sheep. My family have sheep, so I've looked.
Oh, they're your family's sheep.
Yeah.
They knew that they scared you, but they kept them around the house.
You know, got to keep me in line somehow, haven't they?
Of course. You're notorious for your wild Welsh ways. Brilliant. Okay, so that's Jones the maths. Jones will be keeping score throughout this whole thing. And this week I've actually got the bell set up so she can hear it. Listen. See, everyone can hear that properly now. It's not getting edited out by Zoom. That's very exciting for people who were here last week. No one else cares. We've got 2 wonderful teams, and each team is representing an organisation. Their score will go on to the Never Explained Premier League table. We'll invite back them and other players from those organisations, and over time we will find the funniest science organisation in the world. Because that's the joy of online. I can get some Americans on live from New York being like, we've got this club where we do science communication every night. And then I give them no points. And we know that they're not the best organization in the world. Sorry, it's Carl Marion listening. Right, so I'm going to start by getting a team from Lancaster University to introduce themselves. Jamie, would you mind telling everybody who you are and what your kind of science and comedy credentials are?
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm an evolutionary psychologist. So I was actually recently challenged by a group of friends of mine to describe my research using only single syllable words. And I came up with, I look at who has sex with who and why. And I study sex, noun and verb. Comedy-wise, it might surprise people that sex is inherently funny. At least that's what I tell my partner to make him feel better. And I'm actually quite nervous about playing tonight, but I was assured that I would have a lot of fun in doing this, and I'm glad have done it afterwards, and I'll actually want to do it again. But Brilliant. My partner has said this before, and he's been wrong. So
can we have a big round of applause for Jamie, please? All I want from you, Jamie, is after this, I want a written quote saying, I found doing Never Explain more fun than having sex. And that will be our headline. And I'll put a picture of your partner next to it. Becky, you're the other player coming in from Lancaster. Can you tell everybody who you are and what your science and comedy credentials are?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a PhD student at Lancaster University where I'm studying bones. I had a go at Bright Club once, and obviously as a bone biologist, I was naturally humorous. I've come to the quite worrying realization that despite having spent 3 years doing research and being a multi-award-winning PhD student, because I'm technically being paid for this gig tonight, yet I don't receive payment for my research, I think I'm now a professional comedian, yet amateur scientist.
Wonderful. Right. I've got a quick question because I know so many people who say I'm award winning. And the question I always want to ask is what awards? So you just said you're a multi-award winning PhD student. List them so that either we can be impressed or we out you as a charlatan because it's like you did an essay.
Okay.
Quite good.
STEM for Britain 2009, £2,000 cash prize.
Money. Hello. I've just got to explain to Jessamyn where Britain is. You know the big kind of stupid country near Ireland? It's that one. Tell us more. That's a good award. I'm going to keep counting the money here.
Okay, right. Anatomical Society Young Investigator Prize, £200.
Nice.
Materials Science UK Russia Institute something poster prize, 50 quid.
Wow. What materials? Is it for bones?
Well, I did something on mammoth tusks, which I suppose are technically a material. I mean, I was out of my depths at that conference, but you know,
I'm so excited. I didn't know you could do a thing. I've got a friend who does an amazing podcast all about materials and using materials. The podcast is called Handmade. Any listeners out there, go on to iTunes, find Handmade. Becky, remind me. Sorry, Rebecca, remind me. Are you Becky or Rebecca tonight?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, good. I've had emails with both on, you see, so I'm never sure. I've changed your name on Zoom so that I don't get it wrong constantly. So Rebecca, I'll put you in contact with my friend who does the Amazing Materials podcast. That'll be fun. Brilliant. Let's have a big round of applause for Rebecca. Good. Let's move on to our second team. Now, our second team are a team because they went on a nice holiday together, which is apparently all it takes to count as a Never Explained team. I'm going to go to Jessamyn first. Jessamyn, tell everybody about your science and comedy credentials, little that they are.
Little that they are. I will not list my many awards.
Yeah, the only actual tenured academic that we've got here.
Oh, you wouldn't know it.
Are you a lecturer above the bar?
I'm a lecturer above the bar.
Yeah, which
so
means you're allowed to get your own drinks in the SCR.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about rounds. It's a round system. I work at the National University of Ireland in Galway, as you can tell from my clearly very Irish accent. I do like nanoscience and physics education research, but also I run Bright Club in Ireland for the last 5 years. So I've performed as a comedian or improviser like all over the place at the Edinburgh Fringe, at a bunch of improv festivals, as well as in the Arctic and Antarctic, which is actually where I met Alex. Well, technically we met at a Janelle Monáe concert. No, technically we met in Cambridge. Look, we've met a lot of places, but we both did Homeward Bound, which is a women in STEM leadership program.
It sounds borderline stalking at this point. Who was stalking who?
I mean, I came to the UK, so I guess that makes me the stalker.
You traveled all this way just to meet Alex. That's absolutely wonderful.
That's nice.
Thank you. Big round of applause to Jessamyn Fairfield, please. Weirdly, Jessamyn, you probably run the nearest Bright Club to Lancaster at the moment.
Well, if the internet counts as a location, then yes,
well, there's
I guess
a sea
so.
in the way, but the sea's not that big.
That's true.
Our idiot Prime Minister wants to build a bridge over it because he doesn't really understand water or bridges or building or
He's not welcome here.
Alex, tell everybody who you are. You're our final, but not our least wonderful guest. Alex.
Very much. So I work in science education. Before that, I unexpectedly specialized in plant science. I think most people unexpectedly specialize in plant science. And I know Steve has strong feelings about this, but I did do a master's in science communication. But now work in the area of science communication that science communication seems to forget, which is education. And my comedy credentials, I'm really just here because Jessamyn, a stranger that I met on the internet.
And in Cambridge and in...
who I let stay in my house.
Antarctica and lives with you.
Because
we're just in different rooms.
Funny. Huh?
We're just in different rooms in your house right now.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Amazing. Can I have a big round of applause for Alex, please? Good. Let's crack on with some things that are going to get you points. As much as I like you all, I can't give you points just for your awards. You've already had things. For those, in Rebecca's case, loads of money. Congratulations on all of that money. In Jessamyn's case, an actual proper job. So congratulations on that. Unlike, yes, I'm pretty sure everyone else here is at best on a short-term contract, short-term being less than 3 years. Brilliant. Right. I'm going to ask you your very first question. So here we go. So friends, this is round one. Round one's question is, we've all heard of the great man theory of the history of science, and some people still win awards for using it, even though historians across the world are like, that's not a thing. But what is the stupidest thing a famous dead scientist ever did? And I've chosen dead scientists here so that we don't say anything about anyone who might sue us, because you can't libel the dead under UK law. Don't know about Irish law, so Jessamyn might have to tread carefully. So I'm going to go to Jessamyn. I'm going to come to you first with Team Homeward Bound. Tell me, what is the stupidest thing a famous dead scientist ever did?
So I think my vote for this has to go to Lewis Lawton, who was a physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project, and he famously succumbed to the demon core. So the demon core was going to be the third atomic bomb that was dropped on Japan, but they surrendered after 2, so it wasn't used. And Lawton's job was basically testing the criticality of atomic weapons. So he actually put together the core of the first atomic bomb that was ever detonated in the Trinity test explosion. And he kind of stuck around after World War II ended. He got a little bit overconfident, and he was working with the demon core, which had already claimed 2 lives at this point. And
before it's even dropped.
Yeah, and so what it was these 2 like hemispheres of plutonium and gallium around a plutonium core. And basically, to test the criticality, you were supposed to let them get closer and closer together, but keep something in between so that they didn't slam together, starting the chain reaction. And like the safe way to do this was to put in like shims or a little spacer or something. But Lawton was like, no, I'm a badass. And he would just have like a screwdriver in his hand, keeping the 2 hemispheres apart. I guess he was trying to look cool, but you can guess what happened, which is he slipped. The halves slammed together in front of a room full of people. And of course, immediately, Lawton takes like a massive dose of neutron radiation, like all up his front, because he's standing right next to it, right, because of the screwdriver. And we don't even actually know how much radiation he took, because the radiation dosimeters were safely locked away in another room. So he like slams back in there with a screwdriver, flips off the one hemisphere, stopping the chain reaction before it goes critical, but got a massive radiation dose. And so unfortunately he died 9 days later, which is why you haven't heard of him as much as you've heard of like Feynman and Fermi, because they were never this stupid. They were stupid in different ways. But I think the lesson is just physicists, please don't try to look cool.
Amazing. What a wonderful, wonderful answer. I mean, this does make this the only person ever to actually defuse a nuclear bomb that started going off.
That's
pretty
true.
I mean, if that went down as the one fact we remember, the only man to stop a nuclear bomb going off.
That he started.
He started it, and he started it by being, I think the technical term is a prick. That's an absolutely wonderful story. That's a hometown story for you, isn't it?
It
Jessamyn,
is.
did you learn
That's where
about
I'm
him
from.
at school? Did they say to you, well,
Manhattan.
here's the best person ever to live in Los Alamos? Let's tell you about.
Well, they do kind of frame him as like a hero, because like the room was full of people and he like shielded them from all the neutron radiation. But like, again, neutron radiation that he made happen.
So I don't think he really had a choice, did he?
No, it's like he threw himself on a grenade that he pulled the pin out of and then was like, whoops.
Now, who chose the name The Demon Core?
The Demon Core chose its own name.
That's an extra point for Jessamyn for that one. Good. I like the fact that it was just going to open a portal to another dimension and we would all die. Amazing. Let's round of applause for Jessamyn's answer, please. Let's go over to Lancaster University. Let's go to Rebecca Shepherd. Rebecca, tell me, what's the stupidest thing a famous dead scientist ever did?
So I want to talk about Werner Forssmann, whose scientific endeavours were basically the makings of a Carry On film. So Werner was a newly qualified 25-year-old doctor in Germany in 1929. And while he was in his cardiology rotation, he became obsessed with the idea of sticking catheters into the arm to touch the heart to fix problems. He wanted to experiment to do this, but his bosses, they said, "Nein, Werner, das ist verboten." No, stupid idea.
This is just points for your brilliant
Can't do
German.
that. You can't do that. You'll kill people. Werner was, they even went so far that they locked away all the equipment that he'd need to do this, so he couldn't have access to the sterile surgical equipment. Undeterred,
it's in the cupboard with the dosing.
Undeterred, Werner tricked a nurse into thinking that he'd fallen in love with her so she would nick him the equipment. She became so enamored with Werner that she said, only if I'm the guinea pig. So he said yes. And then one night they went in, stole the equipment, went to a surgical room. He strapped her and tied her in on an operating table, but then left her there while he inserted a 65 centimetre catheter into his own veins in his arm and pushed it up until it touched his heart. With the nurse there strapped down watching. He didn't die, but he then had a half-mile walk to the X-ray department to go and get what I can only assume he wanted Instagram proof of what he'd done. And it turned out he had managed to get it, so it touched his heart. His bosses, when they found out, were not happy about this. He got fired. He couldn't work in cardiology anymore, and he had to go into urology and start sticking tubes down penises instead. The thing about the story I want to know the most is what happened to the nurse.
Yes!
Was she just, how long was she left there? Who freed her?
She's still there!
She's still there. Poor Gerber.
Amazing, massive round of applause for Rebecca, please. What a great answer. Beautiful, beautiful research. She didn't just do something she learned at school, Jessamyn. She actually did some research. It's quite exciting. That's just such a great story. I mean, quite a sexy story in the middle as well. It was like the layers going on there of like, oh, that's what he's into. Oh, no, that's what he's into. He's like, no, you thought I was into putting it in, but actually I'm into you watching while I myself.
Definitely worthy of its own carry-on film.
Yeah, he's like, how can I do a sexual scenario where someone lies there helpless while I'm in another room x-raying myself? Because that's what has always turned me on the most in the entire world. Brilliant. That was such a wonderful answer. Wonderful answer. Let's go over to Alex, the other half of Team Homeward Bound. Alex, what is the stupidest thing that a famous dead scientist ever did?
So I might have chosen this because I live on my own, and that means I get everything to myself.
That just points for the joy of living on your own. God, I miss it.
However, so I've nominated Rosalind Franklin, and I've nominated her for sharing.
Oh! So
this is a slightly more well-known person, perhaps. So I suspect members of our panel and some of you out there know Rosalind Franklin. She was a scientist who worked with X-ray crystallography, which is a way of looking at the structures of molecules. And one of those molecules happened to be DNA. And she did some really great work. She produced this amazing image, and she trustingly, like all good scientists do, shared it with some other scientists. Those scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, they took that image. They thought, this is a great image, and actually it puts one of the final pieces in our puzzle to discover the structure of DNA. And they went on to publish that and eventually win a Nobel Prize. And interesting, later on, they did admit that they treated Rosalind Franklin patronizingly. And then she wasn't part of the paper that was published. They didn't include her. She's only been recognized posthumously. So they went on to win a Nobel Prize. Rosalind Franklin got ill, died. So frankly, Franklin shouldn't have shared.
Amazing. Round of applause for Alex, please. The number one rule of science: never trust men, especially James Watson. Someone, like, when time travel is invented, someone needs to go back and say to her, do you know what Watson's like? Right. Sorry, I'm eating a mint. I thought that'd be a longer answer. Oh, this is professionalism, isn't it? Technically, I'm just sitting in my shed, so I'm allowed to eat mints. Oh, I just nailed a mint. I'm really in the wars today, viewers. On my way to my shed today to record this, I didn't have any shoes on. It's a nice day. I'm walking through the garden. So a honeybee stung me on the soft bit in the middle of my foot at the bottom. The honeybee's dead. They die anyway, but I still hit it with a chair just to make sure. I went and pulled the stinger out with pliers so that I could feel as macho as possible. There are tweezers in the house, but I used pliers. And I didn't use needle nose pliers. I used the biggest, fattest pliers I could find, just for that one moment of feeling like a real man. And then I put TCP on the wound because I'm not scared of pain, but I am petrified of infection. And it still really hurts. That's why I'm talking about it, is I'm sitting thinking, why is this answer making my foot throb? It's not, it's the bee. We got one more answer to come in this round. This answer is coming all the way down from the wonderful county of Lancashire. And it's going to come from Jamie. So Jamie, can you tell us, what's the stupidest thing a famous dead scientist ever did?
Here's my problem, because I would like to clarify, this is not libel, because when my immediate answer went to Barry Marshall. Thing is, he's not dead, but he should be. So
I'm just giving all these points to him in lieu of an eventual settlement in court.
No, because here's the thing. He was convinced that bacteria caused ulcers, and nobody believed him. So he decided to swallow a beaker of the stuff.
Yes.
Lo and behold, he got an ulcer. So never doubt the arrogance of a white male academic to fly in the face of health and safety regulations or ethical practices just to prove themselves right. But yeah, he's still alive, so he doesn't count. So in keeping with the tradition of scientists—
Wait, is this a double answer to get more points?
It might be.
Oh,
or alternatively,
no, my point finger. I'm just putting it away.
That's fine, because the fact is, consuming things is a long-standing tradition, and I'm going back to my main man, Charles Darwin, the original OG, because he traveled all the way to the Galapagos Island to study exotic creatures, and then went about eating them, because nothing bad has ever happened from consuming exotic animals. The fact that we are doing this on Zoom is a pure coincidence. He spent months trying to find this bird called the Lesserea, and then he discovered that he had actually been eating them the whole time. And again, I am of the opinion that it is bad science to eat the things that you are trying to study. Could be because I study people. But credit where credit is due, because without him, we would still be wondering what tortoise urine tastes like, which apparently is limpid and only slightly bitter. And his work really inspired a lot of other scientists. Like this one guy published a paper because he was curious about whether the hypothesis was, are tadpoles that are easier to catch less tasty? And again, was right. So thank God for Darwin eating his subject material, I guess. So it might not be that stupid. And I guess if you're going to spend 5 years in isolation, taste testing things isn't the worst way of spending your time. And I do have some suspicious mold growing from all the rain.
Round of applause for Jamie, please. Did Darwin or Marshall tie up a nurse while they were doing it?
Wouldn't put it past him.
Well, there's another point for Rebecca, just for being the only person who managed to get that element in. Amazing. Good. Well, it's the end of round one. I think we've gone through time and space in round one. You all actually answered the question, which is very nice. It's always difficult when we have an act who's like, well, actually for round one, I thought I'd subvert the concept of a quiz. It's like, that's not what we need. That's not what we need. But let's fly over to Wales. We'll land in Jones Airport and we'll find out from the departure board what the scores are after round one. Jones.
So for Team Homeward Bound, you've got the score of 28 points.
Amazing. What's that in Welsh?
Gaidde goith.
Oh, so good. So good. Do you know we have Welsh viewers who don't speak English who watch this just for the scores?
It's like that program on S4C that only has 3 viewers. Let me or whatever it's called. It's about farming.
Oh, it's not the Spesh featuring Sarah Jones, is it?
No, because that is on BBC Wales.
That's on BBC.
English version.
BBC Three, yeah. Sorry, go on. And how many teams have Lancaster got?
For Team Lancaster, they have 1 team, but they have 3 big points.
Way! So now, Sarah, do Wales consider Lancaster to be North Wales and in a bit, or is it just England?
I'd say it's England, but with an asterisk.
It's near enough to Liverpool, which is the border. That's like the city where the two cultures mix, along with Ireland. It's like this tripartite divided city. Wonderful. Right, that was round one. That was quite an exciting round one. I enjoyed that. So round two, as always, is the great lists of science. I'm going to give you the title of a PowerPoint slide, and you're going to tell me the bullets that would be on that PowerPoint slide, should we make it. So teams, jump in whenever you've got something funny to say. The dings will flow freely. So here is the first thing I want you to tell me, teams. Greetings card messages for scientists.
You're brilliant, but there will always be someone smarter than you.
Yeah, it's me. Point for me there, Jones. Keep going.
Dear Oppenheimer, happy 18th birthday. Now go and make your impact on the world. Love, Mum and Dad.
According to the multi-universe theory, there is a universe in which you are Batman. Sorry, you have an operable brain tumor in this one.
I was wondering all the ways that was going to go. According to the multi-universe theory, somewhere you and I are having sex right now.
Not even in this one. No.
Not you, it's what you write in the card. It's what you write in the card to a physicist. I mean, I might write that in a card to a physicist. Like, none of I've met male physicists. Right, what else have we got, teams? Greeting cards, messages for scientists.
Wish you were here, but you're not because you never take a holiday.
Perfect. Rebecca.
Dear Einstein, have a relatively happy birthday.
No.
Oh,
If I start giving points for the really low-level puns like that, then next time I do one of these with new scientists, my friend Gilead is going to get 1,000 points. No, I've got to have some standards, Rebecca.
Roses are red, violets are blue. A famous scientist who was a good person, too good to be true.
Martin Rees is really nice.
Sure?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you my Martin Rees story that proves that he's really nice. So he was president of the Royal Society. He's Astronomer Royal. He was doing a talk at a tent that I was hosting at the Wilderness Festival at Sunday Papers Live. Next time you want to visit somewhere to hear intellectual conversation, why not visit Sunday Papers Live? I don't run it. I just host it. He arrived in this tent. No one else knew who he was. I went, Professor Rees. It's lovely to see you. You're on in 45 minutes. Is there anything you need? He said, where can I get a cup of tea? And I said, oh, don't worry, you sit down, I'll get you a cup of tea. And he said, no, that's not your job. You get on with running your stage. I'll find myself a cup of tea. There is no other fellow of the Royal Society that would do that. Every other one would be like, yes, get me some fucking tea. He's absolutely brilliant. He's super famous, well-known. He's a lovely guy. Like, unlike a lot of scientists where you think, oh, they're very charismatic and nice. They're not. They're just on telly. You know, Carl Sagan, the minute he was off the screen, was like, I fucking hate that fucking bitch. Yeah. Sagan in the streets, Feynman in the sheets, as people say. You know, Martin Rees is a really nice guy. Anyway, that's the only famous scientist who's really nice. Keep them coming. Greetings card messages for scientists.
Sorry I ran over your cat, but I have an idea. Sincerely, Schrodinger.
Jessamyn was telling us before we started recording about what some of Schrodinger's ideas were. So a point to Jessamyn, just for something that none of you will hear about. Keep them coming.
Happy Valentine's Day. I just think that if we had children, they'd have really desirable traits.
My children have Irish passports as well as British passports. What could be more desirable than that? To any, like, as soon as they're 18, Brits are going to be trying to marry them. Like, keep them coming.
Dear
It's
Thomas
not about-
Ebbinghaus.
Go on.
Dear Thomas Ebbinghaus, sorry I forgot your birthday. Erwin Ebbinghaus would be better. Memory scientist. It's funny.
Yes.
It makes us laugh.
A joke about which you say it's funny. It's what we call Radio 4 funny. It's like funny. Jessamyn, where were you going?
It's not about the citations. It's about the friends you made along the way. And friend, we need more citations.
Scientists with friends. What kind of nonsense is that? Right, any more greetings cards for me?
I want your babies. I mean, happy Father's Day, Sigmund Freud.
Right, I'm going to move on to our second great list of science. And this one, like, I wrote this one a week ago when I sent it to you, but it's become particularly painful now. Because as I was, I write these on my phone at various times, and they kind of depend slightly on what's on my mind. So, teams, I want things to shout at a wasp that's invading your picnic.
Oh no, the wasps are ruining everything again. Because you did mean white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right?
You are so overrated, but please don't tell Wasp Twitter that I said that.
Wasp Twitter, can you imagine? The only thing worse would be Swan Twitter. No, the only thing worse than that would be Tory Twitter. Oh, no, wait. Wasp Twitter, Swan Twitter, and Tory Twitter are the same thing.
Ouch.
It's just facts. Just facts. Keep them coming. Anything else to shout? I realize this is a terrible question, but as I was writing these at a picnic where I was ignoring everybody, there was a wasp. Like, the wasp was the only one paying me any fucking attention at all, which is why I was writing these questions. What else can I shout at a wasp that's invading a picnic?
I probably wouldn't shout, but I would give them some stinging criticism.
That one I'll allow. Double points for a pun that's quite good.
That is not 2 meters.
Good, right. Let's move on from that absolutely terrible question. Teams, the final one in the great lists of science. I want you to give me backhanded compliments for your opposition tonight.
I just think it's really great that this show's open to anyone, and I'm so glad you're here.
I don't feel comfortable giving backhanded compliments to other women because it kind of feeds into that catty stereotype. And it also means I have to find something to compliment them on.
It's been lovely chatting with you both tonight. It's nice how you make me feel so smart when you talk.
I actually printed my backhanded compliment on my shirt, but there was a misprint. It's supposed to say, "Can women be funny?" But I think it messed up somehow.
So, Jessamyn, you do the Bright Club in Ireland, and I just think it's really brave that you came on here tonight and not be funny.
I think that you both really have the social graces of a world-class physicist.
Oh, Jessamyn, I think you're absolutely out of this world. Metaphorically, of course, you're not good enough at maths to be an astronaut.
She's also way too tall. It'd be really expensive to send Jessamyn into space. It's one of these jobs, like being an actor, or a jockey, where being short is really good because they're like a spacesuit. The extra 4 inches of spacesuit will cost $400,000. We're not doing it. Sorry, you've all done so many funny things. I have to do a bit of asthma. So Jones is going to talk to you for a second.
And we can keep going on the backhanded compliments.
Fine, I'll decide the scores.
I just think it's brilliant that you guys don't care what you look like on Zoom.
Alex, the way you've overcome your background as a plant biologist, it's really inspiring.
I'm really impressed at how well you guys are doing in this round. You're so much better at being mean than us.
I just think it's really brave of you to call yourselves scientists. No.
You know what, though? I'm
Yeah,
so glad.
One of them's an evolutionary psychologist, so it's pretty brave. That was one of my favorite questions I've ever asked in that round. I'm going to bring that one back. Good. Right. Let's fly over to Wales now. Let's disembark. Let's make sure that we sterilize our hands thoroughly as we head into Wales, because it's a notoriously clean country. A very low COVID rate due to having a functioning government. Jones, how are they doing?
Well, luckily, both the numbers are even numbers, which we learned last week were the only ones I knew in Welsh. So Team Lancaster are on, I can only think in Spanish. I can't remember what the Welsh word is. Right, okay, I've remembered it.
They're both languages are mainly, so it's fine, isn't it?
I was going to do this in German in honor of being in Wales, but I remembered that I actually can't speak German. I just lied about it to get a job once. So
Just
anyway.
points for Sarah Jones here. That was 3. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right. Anyway, Team Lancaster are on 46.
Oh, you didn't even need to hold it up. We all knew just from you saying it in Welsh.
Whereas Homeward Bound are on 50. 50.
Wait,
Oh.
Pimptig.
Yeah, pimp.
Pimp.
The motherfucking PIMP. That is 5 in 6.
That point is just for Wales. It's not for you, Jones. It's for Wales. Just congratulations on constantly trolling the world with its weird words.
We don't know what he's weird about us, but what you good about Cymru? That would have been a better rhyme.
Well, put this down for next time you're on Welsh telly, because they get you on, don't they, to do your material about how much you hate Ed Sheeran and love Wales.
You know what? I only put that bit in that set because my parents were in the audience. I thought, what other Welsh material have I got?
That was a great bit. That was a great. Everyone, Google. What do you Google? BBC Sesh. Sarah Jones.
It's called Comedy Sesh, something like that.
Yeah, it's got Sarah Jones in it, being brilliant. Let's move on to round 3. Round 3, teams. In a perfect world, how would you like to die? And I'm going to come to Rebecca first on this one. Can you tell I wrote these at a picnic where nobody was paying me any attention other than a wasp? I was like, I need some darker and more passive-aggressive questions. So we're going to come to Rebecca first. Rebecca, tell me, in a perfect world, I'm going to zoom in on the microphone so I sound threatening. How would you like to die?
Okay, so I've given this some thought. And since you've asked, Steve, you're now responsible for carrying out my final wishes, okay? So I will haunt you if you don't. And I want you to know, I want my death not just to be politicized, but fucking weaponized. So it's most likely at the moment that COVID-19 will be the thing that gets me. And so as I lay there coughing on my deathbed, I want you to put me in a human cannon, like pack it in there with like some glitter and some silly string. And I want you to fire me into Dominic Cummings' bedroom at 3:30 on a morning. And once I land there, I'm going to cough all over him. And as I say my final breath, I'm going to say, sorry, I thought this was the way to Bernard Castle, you lying, manipulative scumbag. And so after my death, I then want to be preserved forever and stuck in a museum as quite a creepy exhibit. But I want people to pilgrimage to come and see the crazy woman that really scared Dominic Cummings at 3:30 on a Tuesday morning. And each year on the anniversary of my death, I want you to orchestrate a parade of school children marching through London with masks of my mummified face on them.
Amazing. Big round of applause for Rebecca, please. Sarah, can we just take 3 points off Rebecca because he's already had COVID, so he's probably immune.
Nope.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, can you get pandemic flu at the same time?
You can catch COVID twice.
I was going to say you can get COVID-20. We're not there yet.
Yes. Although frighteningly, right, just before we went into lockdown, I did an event with a load of scientists from all over the world in a tiny hotel meeting room with very little ventilation. Oops. And they were all, I asked them what the future would be like in 2025. And some of them started talking about COVID-36. I was like, how many fucking rounds of COVID are we going to get? Like, that's 4 a year or some nonsense like that. 3 a year. I can't do maths. I've been drinking homebrew. That was a wonderful answer. There's always a lot of points to be had for slanging off Tories on this podcast, because they're just wrong people. They're not like objectively. I'm following the science here. They're just wrong. They're just not allowed. Just no. Amazing. Good. Let's move over to Team Homeward Bound. We're going to fly all the way to Alex's house where she lives on her own. Lucky Alex. Gets up at noon, goes to bed at 4. Just gets Amazon delivery drivers to bring gin round constantly. Alex, tell me, in a perfect world, how would you like to die?
So I was quite relieved when I saw this question because I already knew the answer. and I would like
The
to
4
die.
points are just for reading this question and thinking, God, I'm relieved.
I'd like to die in a shark attack. And I realise this
Pause. What species?
don't really mind because I
Point
don't
off.
think.
Insufficiently specific science. Keep going.
Well, because I realised this a few years ago when I went to South Africa and I went surfing with my cousin. And after we finished surfing, which I thought I would hate, but actually quite liked.
That's another point off.
Didn't say I was any good at it. Afterwards, after we finished, he revealed that the flag flying at the beach didn't mean, oh, no, we haven't seen any sharks today. And it didn't mean, oh, in these conditions, we don't expect to see any sharks. What the flag meant was the water is too choppy and too rough for us to tell whether there are any sharks. So I'm really glad I learned this afterwards. But after thinking about it, I realized that shark attack actually quite a good way to go. Because actually it sounds pretty impressive. So I was like, oh no, oh, that's so sad. How did she die? Shark attack? Like, just great reactions. It's a great story for your descendants when they go on Who Do You Think You Are? That's a really good one for them to find out. They're going to remember. No one's going to forget. It's just generally a good story for people to tell. And it just essentially makes sure you're remembered without people putting you in a creepy museum exhibit. And also, it's actually, shark attacks are actually quite rare. So it's unlikely that it's going to happen.
Yeah, you'd be special and different. Massive round of applause for Alex, please. Other players, what species of shark would you like to be eaten by? Jessamyn.
Asking shark.
Yeah.
Go,
Not worth the
just
point.
you go all the way in.
Rebecca.
Great white.
Classics. Point. Jamie.
Whale shark.
The whale shark?
It's a vegetarian, and yet, well, I say vegetarian krill.
Yeah. No, I think it's
I think it's important because I don't think most people don't know that much about different species of sharks. So,
I think you'll find. So, Alex, most people don't know that much about species of shark until they have children and they have to watch every fucking episode of Octonauts. I know what a whale shark is. I know what it's like in its stomach.
Like,
there's multiple episodes where they get stuck in the stomachs of whale sharks. There's a whole episode about a blue whale desperate to get to the Southern Ocean to have krill, but his voice is gone and he can't stand the other whales. I know fucking everything. Like coconut crabs, what even are they? I know. I've seen Octonauts. So the only thing my children know is that Peter Rabbit likes radishes and everything about every form of marine biology. To give you an idea of how corrupting CBeebies is, there's no dinosaurs on it. It's just marine biology. I bought them a little cuddly Tyrannosaurus Rex that goes, moves its head around. They're petrified of it and ran away. To be fair, their mum is a lawyer. And so in Jurassic Park, we know T-Rexes love to eat lawyers. So that might be, they're worried it's going to kill their mum. That was an absolutely wonderful answer. Now, I went there. Where did I go? I've been to Rebecca. I've been to Alex. That means it's Jamie. Jamie, is it you? Yes.
So, yeah.
It's Jamie. Right. Please, let's hear from Jamie. Jamie, in a perfect world, how would you like to die?
See, because here's the thing. In a perfect world, I wouldn't actually die. But it would be after securing my legacy as the ancestral Eve of Pitcairn Island. This is a long-standing plan. Okay, so for those of you guys who might not know what Pitcairn Island is, it's this tiny little island in the middle of nowhere. It's got a population of 67 people. So the plan is go in there, wipe them all out because 67 deaths is nothing to Americans. Cleanse everyone.
It's just points for truth.
Go there, cleanse everything, and then set up my lineage, which would eventually result in this entire mythology and religion based solely on my life and teachings. And essentially I become like Kim Jong-il, except with like maybe better hair, minus the crimes against humanity, except for the initial Holocaust, but you know, what else.
Amazing. Big round of applause for Jamie, please. Although, Sarah, point off for Americans do kill a lot of people, but have you ever heard historically of Britain?
Oh
OG
no,
killers.
the wasps are missing everything.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if you're going to be like, my country is the worst, I'm like, hold my beer. Let me take you on a tour of some statues that the Daily Telegraph is worried that we might take down. And as I always remind everyone, nobody's seriously talking about taking down the statue of Winston Churchill. However, we'll have that fucking statue of Thatcher down straight away. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jamie. That was a wonderful answer. We're going to fly over to Jessamyn, who I think is the only person who hasn't answered this question. Look worried if I've missed you out from this round. No, good. Right, we're going to Jessamyn. Jessamyn, tell me, in a perfect world, how would you die?
I mean, obviously, I also want to die doing something that's really like badass and cool and, a unique legacy.
Point off for a lack of specificity again.
No, come on, it's coming. I used to do a lot of ultra marathons. And so obviously it would be great to die doing an ultra marathon, but I don't just want to die like while doing it. I want to die on the course and be left there, like for people who subsequently do the race to have to look at my body as they go past. Like, I would love to die on Everest. I don't know. Do you guys know about Green Boots? This guy who died trying to ascend Everest, as many do, in 1996. And he's just frozen into this cave. He's called Green Boots because of his green boots that he is wearing. They think they know who he is, but they're not really sure. And it's really hard to get corpses off of Everest. Like, people have died doing that, which I don't think is a great way to die. But I would just love to die doing something really extreme. And then every subsequent person that does that thing has to look at my corpse and think about their own limitations and just like really meditate on it for a second. And then when they're coming back down from doing the same thing, they have to look at it again and be like, oh, it's what I would have wanted.
So you want to die so that people can look at your corpse and think, well, I'm better than her.
I want to die in the most visible place possible to remind everyone that they will also die.
And when you pass Green Boots on Everest, do people send you cards going, you're now officially better than Green Boots?
Well, I don't think there's like an alarm that goes off and like balloons come down or anything, but it's just like, hey, you know what? This was a bad idea, what you're doing. Just maybe reconsider.
I mean, I'm also confused at the idea it's hard to get bodies off Everest. Don't you just throw them off the side and they fall? I mean, isn't that how gravity works? I'm not an expert on mountains.
I guess it's, do you want them off or do you want to recover them? If you want to just push them further down the mountain, there's a lot of ways to do that. If you want to return them to their families, that gets, well, it's not tricky, but a lot of people have died doing it. And so they just leave them now.
Good. Well, I mean, everybody's got to try and catch up with Britain in the number of people they've killed. That was wonderful. Thank you. Big round of applause for all of our players. Now, let's cross the Severn Bridge. We'll pop into Wales and we'll find out how things are going from Jones. Jones, what's the numbers news?
Yeah, wir haben das scores.
Wait, did Wales lose the second war on its own?
No, I'm just trying to get a job after I finish my PhD. I thought maybe I'd bring back the German line.
I know some people at a Max Planck Institute.
I mean, could they use a geomicrobiologist?
No, it's human genetics as ever, but go on.
I mean, let's be honest, I've done more comedy than I have science during my PhD. Anyway, Team Homeward Bound. We're in on Chwech Chwech.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
But absolutely trounced by Team Lancaster on Oistig Die.
Jeepers! That's a big score. Wow. I don't know what happened there. Somebody's answer, I must have just forgotten to press buttons. And I would apologize, but that's kind of what the game is. Right? It's just absurd, angry, and inconsistent. Right. We've got time for the bonus round. Friends, the bonus round. It's one of my favorites. It is Shag, Marry, Kill, or as the BBC would have it, Snog, Marry, Avoid. Like not realizing that when you marry someone, you also avoid them quite a lot. Like you spend the rest of your lives trying to work out how to not be in the same room because you have to be in the same room and so often. So here we go. We're going to start with Alex. You love plants. Tell me, Shag, Marry, Kill, wheat, corn, and soy.
Yeah, so I never before hearing this question, I've never before wished that I were gluten intolerant because that would make it easy.
That's just 3 points for the diversity, inclusion, and equity of making sure that we respect the glutens out there. Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm not gluten intolerant. I went for kill first. I just don't think you can get away from kill with soy. There's a whole thing with the plantations and destroying the rainforest and the sad animals. And even though, plants are better, but, there's all that with the soy. It is still kind of useful. But yeah, and tofu's great. But anyway, and then, we've got corn and we've got wheat. We've made lots of delicious things out of them. They're really tasty. But I'm going to go with, I love that I've got the phrase shag corn written down on this piece of paper in front of me.
Not spelt with a K, I hope.
No, I've moved on. Yeah, I just think I found corn, it's quite deceptive because, it's called, even in English-speaking countries, it's called different names. And it took me until the third year of my degree, quite a long way through that third year, to realise that corn and maize are the same plant. And I was quite cross when I found out because I spent a lot of energy trying to figure that out.
It's like corn's got 2 mobile phones and it's using them to cheat on you.
Yeah, it's just a bit much. Like I just has a lot of wasted energy, but also kind of great. And then wheat, marry wheat, because as Apple mentioned, not gluten intolerant. And you just make so many things out of it, like just everything in so many different cultures, like just great foods. We could list them forever, but that might make those people out there who are gluten intolerant sad. They might not come back next week, so I don't necessarily want to do that.
Gluten-free variants of many things are available, but not the thing you want. Brilliant. Right, big round of applause for Alex, please. We're going to move over to Becky now. Becky, you love bones so much. Tell me, shag, marry, kill, the scapula, the femur, and the humerus.
Okay, so it all depends on sort of the conditions around this. So if we're talking about human skeleton, and I'm assuming you mean like a disarticulated one, so like separate bones rather than the bones in vivo, because that would.
I have no idea what the word disarticulated means. I think you mistake me for a clever person.
Taken apart.
I know the glasses look like I'm a clever person. But...
So if it's human skeleton, I'd probably marry the humerus, because humour is something I look for in a partner in life. And then the other two are quite hard, no pun intended.
Entirely intended.
Pun taken.
I mean, like, neither the femur or the scapula are something I've ever fancied a one-night stand with. But at the moment, I'm 21 weeks pregnant and feel massive. So it'd probably have to shag the femur because it's designed to take larger loads. And then I guess by default, I'd kill the scapula. However, if we're looking at other animals, I would marry a mole scapula, because mole scapulas are so weird looking with different points of attachments to their muscles because of the digging they do. But then if we think about cartilaginous fish, their scapulas are cartilaginous, so might be more akin to a sex toy texture. So might be better for a shag.
Sarah, good. Can you just take 1 point off for answering the question like 7 times? Thanks.
And I realise as I've answered all this, my PhD supervisors, or at least one of them, is definitely listening in tonight. So I really hope they don't regret letting me learn about bones.
Amazing. Big round of applause, Rebecca, please. Now, Rebecca's PhD supervisors, I should point out that Jessamyn is a lecturer above the bar and therefore could be an external examiner. It doesn't technically work in bones, but sometimes externals are a bit, we like to put a curveball in there with the externals. Why not?
I have a bone person I could recommend as well.
No, do it. Just do it. Like physicists always go, well, everything's just physics, isn't it? Prove it. Examine a bones PhD. Come on.
That would be
a lot of work.
The best Viva ever.
Yeah. The best Viva ever is basically any 3 of you vivering the other one. Amazing.
Rubber stamp, then we drink.
The
That's a vibe.
empowerment that would come out of that. Yeah. Right. I'm going to move over to Jessamyn. I'm saving Jamie for last because I really enjoyed writing this one, and I really enjoyed the angry email that she sent me straight afterwards. Jessamyn, tell me, you love physics so much. Shag, marry, kill an electron, a neutron, and a proton.
Okay, so shag is really easy, right? Because that's the electron. Like strong charge, agile, mobile.
You like them small, yeah?
They're into bondage. Ionic bonds, van der Waals bonds, you know, all the kinky stuff. So that's the easy one here for me. Mary, I think that kind of has to be the proton. You know, they're not too flighty, they're super positive, like nothing bad to say about a proton. That sounds like a good lifetime sort of partner. But kill neutron, definitely. Like this is revenge from my boy, Lewis Slaughton. He took all those, no, neutrons, you don't get to. No. Kill the neutron.
Yeah, Los Alamos 1, neutrons 1. Brilliant answer. Thank you so much, round of applause for Jessamyn. Now, coming to the answer that I've been waiting for the entire show. Jamie, you're an evolutionary psychologist who works on sex and sexual choices. Shag, marry, kill, Jessamyn, Rebecca, and Alex.
No, this is unfair because they got to decide on inanimate objects and I have to be mean and shag, marry, and kill my fellow players.
Yeah.
And obviously I am super nice.
To be fair, you love the backhanded compliments round.
Right. And unfortunately, all of us are women and human parthenogenesis isn't quite there yet. So nobody here is like giving me some kind of like reproductive edge. So I feel like I have to kill Jessamyn because obviously violence towards fellow Americans is inherent in us. So
She's also Irish, though. You're oppressing the old country. You've probably got 12 relatives.
She's in Ireland. No, this is perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, no, people in England killing Irish people is fine.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, there is a statue of Cromwell at Parliament, which I find a bit much.
I also happen to be from New York, and like Irish need not apply. Like, no, thank you. We're good. So,
so you're gonna kill Jessamyn, right? Now the big,
yes.
the big
All right,
decision.
thanks for that.
The big decision.
No. Oh, I'm
I mean,
gonna
that
marry.
was easy.
That's easy. You know, obviously I'm marrying Rebecca. She's my partner in this. I am also very, very clumsy. So having somebody with a little bit of a medical background would probably be like really beneficial. And then also she's already pregnant, although for the Pitcairn Island plan, I probably have to take care of that as well. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
That point's for Rebecca. I know it goes to the same team, but the point is for Rebecca to make up for the death of it.
I'm already planning infanticide. It's fine. Yeah, so I guess that leaves shagging Alex. And I am sorry,
You act like that's like a terrible thing.
You didn't.
It's always like that.
When you told me
this is a pity point for Alex, and there's another one.
no, because when you sent me this email saying like, Jamie, you're gonna have to shag, marry, and kill your fellow players, I'm like, Steve, you didn't include a picture for me to judge, and now I see why. Like,
I did reply, Google them.
but yeah, there you have it. Killing the fellow American, marrying my partner, and shagging Alex.
Okay, here's three
Also,
more
she's got
points
the corn.
for Jamie just for getting through that. One of the nastiest questions I've ever thrown at anybody, and you did brilliantly. Because I like to think, you know, we push the envelope here a bit on Never Explain. And that envelope is very crumpled now from all the pushing, but I thought you pushed it very well and artfully. You know, everybody feels fine with where you left them, because Jessamyn already wanted to die. We did that whole question about that. So as long as you kill her in the way that she wanted to go, it's not a problem. Just kill her while she's running. Amazing.
And
right,
leave me.
it's the end of the game. We've had all the answers we're going to get. The only thing left to do is fly. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to get some words from the winners and on how they're so good and how they win. We're going to get some words from the losers, because I just love hearing bitter people whine. It's like a Jose Mourinho press conference. But we're going to go over to Sarah Jones now in Wales. Jones, the maths, tell us, how did it all end?
Well, I thought you might like to know about the supplementary points you awarded. You awarded
Yes.
You awarded yourself 1 point. Obviously, me and you have a running total, but that's on the border board, which is in London. So
No, it is, yeah.
I've got 3 points for lying.
1 to Jones tonight in the professionals game. Anyone who's keeping track.
And that's a further 1 to Wales, just generally trolling the world.
Yeah, I'm 1-1 with the whole nation of Wales tonight.
So that's all of the supplementary points. To move on to the final scores for the teams, we've got Team Homeward Bound on 93.
Whoa! Pretty good, pretty good.
Auf Deutsch.
Oh, yeah. Odd numbers in German, even numbers in Welsh. Jones' way.
But of course, a resounding victory for Team Lancaster on, I don't know, 113.
I mean, that's a massacre. I don't think this is game 3. That's bigger than all of the winning percentages of all the other games put together so far, multiplied by about 7. That is, I'm sorry, Homeward Bound. You probably need to go on holiday again, recharge after that one. Very tired. Let's go over to the winners. Winners, what words do you have for the losers to make them feel better?
Jessamyn, congratulations on the permanent job. I'm really
Yes. Yeah. Is that why you want to kill her? Just open up an academic job?
Yes.
It'll be in physics, though. Losers, do you have any words to how does it feel?
I think
Sad.
Oh, Jessamyn.
So sad.
Oh, I might have accidentally muted you.
Oh no.
Does that answer your question?
That's another point for me for muting the ukulele. Let's go over to Jones. Jones, do you have any advice for all the people out there in science land before we do the next one of these?
Yeah, I do. The game is called Never Explain, and the premise of it is that you should not explain. But Alex was earlier penalised for not explaining, so try and decode that mystery.
I'm just saying, the game is just Steve presses a button. Points mean nothing. There are no prizes other than the prize of winning, which is the ultimate prize of all. Because in life, we make our own criteria for success. You might want to be rich. You might want to be famous. You might think Instagram likes matter. You might think friends are important. But none of those things matter. You make your own criteria. So I chose, my criteria is just to own one really nice giraffe pattern t-shirt in red and black. And my life is complete. Let's have a massive round of applause for all of our wonderful players and for Jones the Maths. This has been Never Explained. There's no game next week because on Thursday night I'm hosting a quiz for Imperial College. So you should go on to Imperial College's, look for the Imperial Lates thing. And there's a quiz where if you know loads about Antarctic krill, you will win. And I've written all the questions, which means they sit on the really nice borderline between what Imperial College thinks is a legitimate question and what I'm willing to ask because it's sufficiently fun. So do sign up for that. We'll be back the week after on the 6th of August. I have a team of Queen Mary University of London alumni, and they will be taking on a team from UCL. So 2 London universities fighting it out. And there's some very funny people on that who I've worked with lots of times, and I'm very excited that you will all get the chance to see them. So one final round of applause for all of our players, and then I will end the YouTube stream and you can all go from this place and lead brilliant and successful lives. Good night.
Woo!